So I was curious, Mr. Greenblatt, do you think this is at all similar to what you experienced during 2000.com bubble?
Today, I see a situation that rhymes with what happened in 2000. Our definition of value has a great opportunity set, much higher than owning the S&P. As you would expect, when the rubber band stretches away from value, does it snap back?
Joel Greenblatt is one of the best investors in the world. Between 1985 and 2005, he compounded investors' capital at a rate of 40% per year. And in 2023, Greenblatt believes that certain aspects of today's stock market environment echo the dot-com bubble, a period when his fund, Gotham Capital, experienced losses in 1998 and 1999, but was then up over 115% in a single year in 2000. So in this video, I will reveal the hidden secrets of the current state of the market that Joel Greenblatt recently shared in an interview with the Hedge Fund Association that so far has only been watched by around 9,000 people. So I think you might gain an informational edge by sticking around. And so without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so in April, the Hedge Fund Association presented an exclusive fireside interview with legendary hedge fund manager Joel Greenblatt, who famously set up a hedge fund in 1985 when he was just 27 years old and then managed to achieve a return of 40% annually over the next 20 years. And today I want to take a look at 2 to 3 clips from this interview and share my thoughts on the subjects discussed. Greenblatt sees similarities between the current market environment and the state of the market during the dot-com bubble, which was a speculative frenzy that occurred in the late 1990s and the early 2000s and was characterized by a rapid rise in the stock prices of primarily internet-based companies. Of course, fueled by investor excitement over the potential of the emerging online economy, similar to how people are excited about artificial intelligence in the current environment. However, the dot-com bubble eventually burst in 2000, leading to a significant market crash and the collapse of many dot-com companies. So in the first clip that I want to show you, Greenblatt describes how he and his fund experienced this difficult period.
So we were still running money in 1998 when the market was up 28%. And we were actually down 5% that year. And it's hard to be down 5% when the market's up 28%. Or it's hard to live through that. And that was the first year we lost money since 1985. And then 99 happened and the market was up 21% again. And that was our second year we lost money. We lost 5% again. So it was 2 years in a row and up 28 and up 20 if you know compound interest. That's bad. If you're down 5% 2 years in a row. The next year, the market was down 10%. We were up 115%. And I don't think we were idiots in 98 and 99, and all of a sudden geniuses in 2000. We just finally got paid for the work we had done in 98 and 99. And the market decided to pay us at a different time.
So what Greenblatt is describing here is that being down 2 years in a row is very difficult for most fund managers, as many clients may lose confidence in the skills of the portfolio managers and they might sell at the worst possible moment. And it's even harder to lose money when the market is up at the same time, 28 and 21% in the case of Greenblatt. 2 subsequent years of negative 5% result in a total decline of around 9.5%. But let's just make this a round number, 10%. So if you're down 10%, you already need a gain of 11% just to break even. And obviously it's even harder to catch up with an index that's up 55% over the same 2-year period. And Greenblatt then highlights a very important lesson. Just because they were losing money 2 years in a row did not mean that they were wrong in those years. It just took the market a little longer to recognize the value of some of the investments that Greenblatt has made. So understand that if you are serious about investing, you cannot obsess over short-term results. And yes, 2 years in the stock market is a very short time period. Oftentimes you will only get rewarded for your correct analysis 2 or 3 or sometimes even 5 years later. I believe this is what makes investing so hard, but also what creates the opportunity for investors with patience and a long-term investing horizon. Joel Greenblatt himself has repeatedly told the story that every year when he started his lecture at Columbia University. He promised his students that if they do good valuation work, eventually the market will agree with them. I think he said in 80 or 90% of the cases, this is going to happen within 2 or 3 years. Okay, let's move on to an even more interesting part of the interview. Here's what Greenblatt said about the current opportunity set in the US stock market.
I wouldn't say we have that dichotomy today that we had back then in the internet bubble, but I do think some of the opportunities rhyme. We have a website called Gotham.com, and we actually started posting. We have a metric that goes back 30 years and puts together a portfolio of, let's say, the cheapest 20% of the market. You know, if you look at the 1,400 largest companies, and we've done research on that. Right now, I haven't looked in a couple days, but we're in the 93rd percentile for that portfolio towards cheap over the last 30 years, meaning the market's only been cheaper for that type, you know, the bottom 20%, 7% of the time. And when we've been here in the past, it's not a prediction. It's just saying what's happened from the 93rd percentile in the past to this portfolio over the next couple of years. And on average, it's up 63% from the 93rd percentile. If you took a look at the S&P, that's in the 23rd percentile towards expensive. Still positive returns expected, but closer to 14 or 15% over the next 2 years, not 63%.
So when Greenblatt gave the interview, their research portfolio of cheap stocks was in the 93rd percentile towards cheap. I've just checked the updated numbers, and as of today, we've actually slipped to the 84th percentile, but this still translated to a 2-year forward return of more than 50%. So seemingly the cheapest part of the market is attractively valued, and I will show you another chart that confirms this very fact in just a second. But first, let's discuss how cheap is defined. What are so-called value stocks? Well, I don't like the term value, to be honest. I don't like that dichotomy of growth and value, because I believe too many people have two different understandings of these two concepts. Buffett too also said that he thinks the distinction between growth and value should not be made and is in a way artificial. When I talk about attractively valued stocks, this could be everything from a company that trades far below its liquidation value, that might be liquidated in the next 2 years or so, to a company trading at 20 times its free cash flow, but that is growing consistently in the 20 to say 30% range. But it could also be a business trading at 5 times free cash flow or earnings, growing at a low single-digit rate, but with management committed to distributing profits to investors. So as you can see, in reality, value can come in many different shapes and forms, but when the media is reporting about value stocks, they're usually meaning stocks that trade at low multiples and often low price to book multiples, which, by the way, I think is a meaningless valuation multiple. We don't have access to the exact methodology used by Greenblatt himself, but we do know that Greenblatt has the correct understanding of value, and on the website of Gotham.com they have also explained that they factor in companies' pre-tax cash flow, return on capital and enterprise value. So all those are metrics that I like to see in investors' analyses. And Greenblatt himself has pointed out that he doesn't like the distinction between growth and value either.
Once again, value investing is just investing. The value investing that Russell or Morningstar would classify as value investing has had a low price book, low price sales. These are metrics that they use to discern, oh, you're a value investor. Haven't done well.
Okay, so what Greenblatt is basically saying is that if you are a value investor who knows how to find and value attractive stocks, the current opportunity set in the United States is much more attractive than the state of the general market, and as the valuation of the broad stock market may suggest, which is above the 25-year historical average. You only have to look hard enough. And other investors, or quantitative measurements I should say, maybe agree with Greenblatt. Let me just share two with you here. First, this graph here from alphaarchitect.com shows the relative cheapness of quote-unquote value using the operating income to enterprise value valuation multiple. It shows the ratio of the median valuations for the top decile of cheap stock portfolios measured by operating income divided by enterprise value, and the median valuations for the entire US stock universe. And a high ratio basically means that value has gotten cheaper relative to the overall universe. So what one can notice when looking at the graph, there are 3 peaks. One around the dot-com bubble, one around the global financial crisis of 2008, and then we've got the one of today. And today we are even at levels that go beyond the 1999 dot-com peak. So how did value investing do after the prior 2 valuation peaks? As shown in these 2 graphs, the next 5 years were a good period to be a value-focused investor. However, historical performance of course does not guarantee future results, but I think it's at least a good indicator. And then finally, Ben Inker from GMO, who recently appeared on the Mab Faber Show podcast, also confirmed the observations made by Greenblatt, highlighting the results of their internal GMO measurements.
And right now, there is something weird going on within the US stock market in particular, which is what we refer to as deep value, which would be the cheapest 20% of the market, looks really cheap. It looks cheaper than it has been 98% of the time through history relative to the market. Now, if we look at the rest of value, which if the cheapest 20% is deep value, I am calling the next 30% shallow value. The next 30% of the market is trading more expensive relative to the market than it almost ever has. So that causes us to say, hey, you don't just want to be looking at the cheap half of the market, because the cheap half of the market contains 2 very different groups of stocks.
So I think what Inker just said is very interesting. It confirms what I teach on this channel. You have to know what you are doing if you want to actively pick stocks. You can't just buy the value half of the US stock market, because as Inker said, while certain parts of the value group universe may be very cheap, others are not. So instead you want to dig deeper, find stocks that are truly exceptionally cheap, do the valuation work yourself, and as Greenblatt explained, then be rewarded by the market over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. So to become a smarter investor, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And I've also got some fairly big news to announce here. I'm currently looking for test clients for a value investing mentoring program, in which you will learn everything from basic personal finance concepts to more advanced topics like how to read and work with financial statements, competitive advantage analysis, management analysis, valuation work, behavioral finance, and much more. So if you want to learn more about this beautiful discipline, the discipline of investing, feel free to send me a DM on either Twitter or Instagram, or send me an email to the email address that I've put in the description box down below. And just to be clear, you don't need to have any prior knowledge. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Take care.